Well, welcome. I'm genuinely glad you're here. You deserve this peaceful moment. So settle in, breathe softly, and know that you are valued, safe, and cared for. Now let us start our story. The lanterns of Moonfall Valley, where gentle lights guide tired hearts home. The night had just begun to settle over Moonfall Valley, brushing the hills with soft silver strokes, when little Elara stepped outside her wooden cabin. The world felt hushed, as though every tree and stone were holding its breath. A cool, gentle breeze carried the scent of pine needles and sweet meadow herbs. To Elara, this quiet hour was the most magical part of the day. She pulled her woolen shawl a little tighter around her shoulders and looked toward the valley floor. Soon, just as it happened every night, the lanterns would awaken. Her grandmother used to tell her that these lanterns were not ordinary. They weren't made with glass or fire. They were made of pure moonlight, woven, shaped, and given warmth by the valley's ancient magic. Elara, her grandmother would say, these lights know when a heart is tired. They know when a soul needs comfort. Follow them and they'll show you the way home, even when you don't know you're lost. And tonight, Elara's heart was heavier than usual. She had spent the entire day working in the village market, helping mend broken fences and listening to neighbors talk about winter storms and dwindling supplies. Everyone was tired. Everyone felt the weight of things, even she. So she closed her eyes and whispered, "If the lanterns can guide tired hearts home, maybe they can guide mine a little too." As though responding to her quiet wish, a soft glow flickered in the distance, then another, and another. Tiny spheres of pale silver light rose slowly from the valley floor, floating upward like sleepy stars waking from a dream. They drifted gently, dancing in slow spirals, painting the night with soft luminescence. Elara's breath caught in her throat. Even though she had seen them hundreds of times, the sight always stirred something deep within her. A feeling of wonder, of safety, of being cared for by something ancient and kind. One lantern drifted toward her. Larger than the others, glowing warmer than moonlight but softer than candle flame, it hovered at eye level. The glow didn't blind, it soothed, wrapping her in a blanket of warmth she felt in her bones. Elara lifted her hand and the lantern drifted closer, nuzzling against her palm like a small, gentle creature. The moment it touched her skin, a wave of exhaustion melted from her shoulders. She sighed softly, nearly trembling with relief. "You came for me," she whispered. The lantern bobbed lightly, almost as if nodding. It drifted backward, inviting her to follow. Elara took a slow step, her boots crunching quietly on the dewy grass. The lantern floated ahead of her, leading her down the steep path into the valley. More lanterns joined them, hovering along the edges of the trail, lighting the stones, illuminating the roots, making sure she would not stumble. As she walked, the world around her glowed like a dream. The tall pines shimmered with reflected silver. The river that wound through the valley mirrored every drifting sphere of light, making it look like thousands of stars had fallen into the water. The air grew warmer, as though the lanterns were gently pushing away the chill of the night. Halfway down the path, Elara noticed something she hadn't seen before, a smaller lantern dimmer than the rest. It wobbled as it floated, its glow flickering weakly. Ilara knelt down. "Are you all right, little one?" The lantern trembled, as if trying to shine brighter but unable to. She cupped it gently in both hands. "Are you tired too?" The lantern's dim light pulsed faintly, yes. Ilara smiled softly. "Then come with me, we'll rest together." The lantern nestled into her palms like a tiny, warm bird. The larger lantern, leading her, paused, waited, and then floated forward again, slower this time, matching her careful pace. When they reached the valley floor, Ilara felt as if she had stepped into another world entirely, a world built for weary hearts. Small clusters of lanterns hovered above mossy stones, creating pockets of glowing warmth. The soft hum of the lanterns blended with the rustle of leaves, forming a song that soothed every worried thought in her mind. The leading lantern guided her toward a quiet clearing where a single ancient willow tree stood. Its long branches hung low, swaying in the lantern light like curtains of silver silk. The roots spread wide, forming a natural seat covered in soft moss. Ilara sat beneath the willow, and instantly her heart felt lighter. The lanterns gathered around her, some floating high among the branches, others hovering close to her feet. The dim little lantern she had carried settled gently on her lap, its glow growing a little stronger in the soft circle of warmth. She leaned back against the tree trunk. "I think we all needed this," she whispered. The lanterns pulsed gently in reply. As she watched them drift lazily in the clearing, she remembered something else her grandmother used to say. Lanterns are born from feelings. Every warm memory, every act of kindness, every quiet moment of gratitude adds a little more light to the valley. When the world feels heavy, the lanterns shine brighter to remind us that peace still exists, even in small forms. Ilara looked at the lantern in her lap. "Then maybe you were born from someone who was trying their best today, even if they felt like it wasn't enough." The lantern glowed brighter, its warmth spreading through her hands. She closed her eyes, breathing in deeply. For the first time in many days, her chest felt open. Her thoughts slowed. Her worries untangled themselves and drifted away like distant echoes. The lanterns continued to float around her in gentle patterns. Spirals, soft waves, slow drifting circles, each movement designed to ease her mind into quiet stillness. The willow branches swayed above her, whispering lullabies of wind and moonlight. And at that moment, Ilara felt completely held by the valley, by the lanterns, by the quiet kindness that lived in the world even when she forgot to notice it. When she finally opened her eyes, the leading lantern drifted close again. It nudged her shoulder softly, as if saying, "It's time to go home." Ilara rose to her feet. The lanterns parted slightly, forming a shimmering pathway back toward the hillside. The small lantern she had helped floated beside her, no longer weak, now shining gently with a warm, steady glow. "Thank you," she murmured as the lanterns guided her back to her cabin door. "For taking care of me, for guiding me home." The lanterns pulsed once, soft, warm, and then drifted away into the night, returning to the valley where they would sleep until someone else needed them. Ilara stepped inside her cabin, her heart quiet, her mind clear. She slipped into bed, pulling the blankets around herself. Through her window, she saw one last lantern drift upward, glowing softly. A reminder, a promise, a gentle light guiding every tired heart home. And with that warm glow fading slowly into the night sky, Elara finally drifted into the deepest, most peaceful sleep she had known in a long time. A whispering valley wrapped in moonlit magic. Elara woke the next morning with a sense of warmth lingering in her chest, like she was still wrapped in the glow of the lanterns that had guided her home the night before. Even though sunlight now spilled gently across her wooden floor, she could almost feel the faint hum of moonlit magic echoing in her bones. For a long moment, she lay under her blanket, letting the memory settle. The soft, drifting lights, the warm willow clearing. The tiny lantern that had nestled into her hands, weak but hopeful, she remembered it vividly. Eventually, she sat up, stretched, and walked to her small window. From here, she could see almost the entire valley, the rolling hills, the winding river like a silver thread, and the clusters of trees dancing lightly in the morning breeze. But something felt different today. Something quiet but present. A whisper beneath the usual sounds of the world. She opened the window. A cool breeze brushed her cheeks, carrying with it the softest murmur, like ancient voices woven into the wind. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't loud. It felt like a valley breathing a secret message. Elara, come see. Of course, no voice actually spoke, yet she felt the meaning just the same. Moonfall Valley was calling her back. By midday, the village had awakened fully. Neighbors chatted while mending tools, children splashed at the riverbank, and the bakery's chimney sent up ribbons of warm-smelling smoke. Despite all the activity, Elara walked through it quietly, listening. That whisper in the wind followed her, gentle, patient, and full of magic. She eventually made her way toward Elder Rowan's cottage. Rowan had lived in Moonfall Valley longer than anyone. His beard was white as frost, and his eyes sparkled like he held entire star systems behind them. If anyone knew why the valley was whispering, it would be him. He was sitting on his front porch, carving a smooth piece of driftwood. When he saw her, his smile deepened the gentle creases by his eyes. Elara, you've brought a quiet breeze with you. She blinked. You feel it too. Ah, Rowan said softly. So the valley is whispering again. Again? Rowan set his carving aside. Come, child, sit. The valley doesn't whisper without reason. Elara sat beside him, and together they listened. Even in daylight, the wind carried that strange, soft murmur, ancient, soothing, mysterious. Rowan nodded to himself. This happens only when the valley wakes fully, when the lanterns wish to tell a story. A story. Elara frowned, confusion mixing with curiosity. Yes. Rowan leaned back, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. The lanterns are not just guides, they are memories. And sometimes when the valley needs to remind us of something important, it whispers. A tiny shiver ran down Elara's spine, though not from fear, but from wonder. What is it trying to remind us of? That, Rowan chuckled, is what you must discover. The lanterns chose you last night. They guided you deeper than they've guided anyone in years. When the valley wakes someone, it does so with purpose. Elara looked toward the valley, her heart tightening. I don't know why me. Because your heart listens, Rowan said gently. Most people only see the lanterns as beautiful lights, but you heard the tired one. You carried it, you cared for it. Ilara looked down at her hands, remembering the dim little glow that had tried so hard to shine. "Where do I start?" she asked quietly. "Go to the valley tonight," Rowan said. "The whispers will grow stronger after moonrise. Let the lanterns show you what they want you to see." Ilara nodded, feeling the weight and wonder of his words settle in her chest. That night the moon hung full and bright over Moonfall Valley, casting soft silver light on every leaf, rock, and ripple of the river. The world looked touched by magic, as though the moon itself had painted it fresh. Ilara wrapped her wool shawl around her shoulders and walked toward the valley's entrance. As she stepped onto the first slope, the whispering breeze returned, stronger now, curling around her like gentle fingers. The moment the tip of her boot touched the dewy grass, a lantern flickered to life. Then another, and another. But these weren't the usual steady spheres of silver. Tonight's lanterns shimmered like faint pearly smoke, as if woven from moonbeams still half dreaming. Their light pulsed softly, matching the rhythm of the whispering breeze. Ilara felt her breath catch. These were moon-born lanterns, rare, delicate, and deeply magical. They drifted around her, circling like curious fireflies. One brushed her cheek gently, leaving behind a warm, tingling sensation. "Are you showing me something?" As she whispered. In response, the lanterns floated ahead, forming a shimmering path down the valley. Ilara followed. As she walked, the whispers grew clearer, not words, but feelings, memories, hints of something ancient, something the valley was trying to awaken inside her. She passed the willow tree where she'd rested the night before. Tonight, its branches glowed faintly, as if they had absorbed moonlight throughout the day and were now releasing it in soft, rhythmic waves. She stepped closer. The lanterns clustered around the tree, weaving in slow spirals. The whispers wrapped around her ears like warm threads, urging her closer still. "Ilara!" This time she heard her name. It wasn't spoken aloud, yet she felt it vibrate gently through her chest. With trembling fingers, she touched the willow's bark. The moment skin met wood, a vision unfolded inside her mind. A vision of moonlit past. She saw the valley long ago, before the lanterns, before the village. The land was quiet, dark, peaceful. Then a great silver comet streaked across the sky, showering pieces of moon fire down onto the valley floor. Where they landed, tiny lights blossomed, heart-shaped seeds glowing with pure lunar magic. These seeds grew into the lanterns. Born not of flame or glass, but of kindness, protection, and the moon's gentle promise to guide tired souls toward peace. Ilara gasped softly as the vision faded. The whispers around her swelled with warmth, almost like a hug. "So that's what you are," she breathed. Pieces of moon fire born to help people feel safe. One lantern drifted close, soft, warm, full of affection, but another feeling pulsed beneath the comfort. A warning, a tug of urgency. Ilara felt her chest tighten. "There's something more, isn't there? Something you want me to do?" The lanterns pulsed brightly, yes. The whispering wind curled around her ears, the message finally clear. "The valley is changing. The lights are growing weaker. A shadow is awakening. We need you." Ilara's breath trembled. The lanterns dimmed slightly as if exhausted. They hovered close to her, seeking comfort the way the tiny, weak lantern had done the night before. She placed a hand over her heart. "I don't know what's coming," she whispered, "but I promise I won't turn away. If the lanterns need me, I'll help." The moon shone brighter overhead, soft, approving, ancient. The whispering valley wrapped her in its glowing embrace, and the magic of Moonfall Valley pulsed quietly around her, waiting for what would come next. Dreams awakened beneath the glow of ancient lanterns. The whispers stayed with Alara long after she left the willow tree. Even once she returned to her cabin, closing the wooden door gently behind her, the night carried a soft, steady hum. It wasn't loud, but it felt ever-present, like the valley was breathing just outside her window. Alara sat on the edge of her bed, her hands still tingling from the vision beneath the willow. Lanterns born from moon fire, shadows awakening, the valley calling to her for help. None of it felt real, and yet somehow it felt entirely natural, as if she had always been meant to learn these truths. She lay down slowly, pulling her quilt up to her chin. Moonlight streamed through the thin curtains, painting pale silver patterns onto her wooden floor. Her eyelids grew heavy, and then, for the second night in a row, a soft lantern glow appeared outside her window. A single sphere of light hovered there, brighter than a candle but softer than dawn. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat calling her name. "Alara!" No words, only warmth. She didn't get up this time. Instead, she let the gentle glow lull her deeper, deeper, until sleep wrapped around her like a soft shawl. And that's when the dreams began. Not ordinary dreams. Dreams born beneath the glow of the ancient lanterns. The Dream Valley. Alara found herself standing in Moonfall Valley, but it wasn't the same valley she knew. Everything looked younger, brighter, like she had stepped into a memory woven from magic. The trees shimmered with silver veins. The river sparkled like molten starlight. Every patch of grass glowed faintly under her feet. And hovering above the valley were thousands, no, tens of thousands of lanterns. Old lanterns, ancient lanterns, some larger than her head, some tiny as raindrops, all glowing with a rich, deep magic that made her chest feel warm. A voice drifted through the dream, not human, not exactly. It was gentle and vast, like someone speaking through the moonlight itself. "Welcome, child of the waking world." Alara turned. A glowing figure approached, not a person, but a shape formed entirely from drifting lantern lights. A tall outline shimmered where a body would be, and within its chest flickered dozens of tiny lanterns, pulsing like living hearts. Alara instinctively stepped back, amazed and overwhelmed. "Who are you?" she asked. The lantern figure bowed its shimmering head. "I am the keeper of dreams." The guardian of all lanterns created from hope, warmth, and memory. Alara swallowed. She knew somehow she was standing in a place no ordinary dreamer ever reached. "Why have you brought me here?" she asked softly. The lantern keeper's voice hummed through the dream. "Because the valley has chosen you, and because the ancient lanterns are stirring." Alara frowned. "The ancient lanterns?" The figure gestured, and the glowing sky above them began to shift. The lanterns separated, forming a slow spiral that opened to reveal something deeper, something older. High above, floating alone, was a massive lantern unlike any she had ever seen. Its surface swirled with runes. Its glow flickered between silver, pale blue, and soft gold, and the magic radiating from it felt older than the valley itself. "What is that?" Elara whispered. "That," said the figure, "is the first lantern, the heart of Moonfall Valley." Elara stared, breath caught in her throat. "It watches over all dreams. It gathers the warmth and kindness of every lantern born here. It protects the valley from shadow." "Shadow?" she repeated. "The same shadow that's waking now?" The lantern keeper dimmed slightly as if in sorrow. "Yes, and the first lantern grows weaker, the ancient magic fades. Soon the shadows may rise again." Elara's stomach tightened. "But why me? I'm just Elara. I fix fences. I help neighbors." "I'm not magical. You are more than you believe," the figure whispered. "You are a heart that listens, a soul that cares deeply even in silence. The lanterns respond to hearts like yours." Elara's cheeks warmed. "But what do you need me to do?" she asked. The lantern keeper reached out a glowing hand, and in its palm appeared a tiny lantern, no bigger than a teardrop. Its glow flickered uncertainly. "This lantern," the figure said, "is bound to you. It was the weak one you carried last night. It has chosen you as its guardian." Elara gasped. The tiny lantern drifted closer, floating into her open hands. Even in the dream, she felt its faint warmth. "When a lantern chooses," the keeper continued, "it becomes more than light. It becomes a guide, an ally, a piece of ancient magic that bonds with your spirit." Elara looked up. "What does that mean for me?" "It means," said the figure, "that you must help awaken the first lantern." Her breath caught. "Awaken it? How?" The lantern keeper's glow brightened. "By journeying deeper into the valley, by listening to the whispers. By discovering the forgotten places where the moon fire still sleeps, and by doing something only a heart like yours can do, restoring lost light." Elara stared at the tiny lantern in her hands. Its glow pulsed, soft, trusting, hopeful. "I'll help," she whispered. "I don't know how yet, but I'll try." The lantern keeper smiled, its entire form rippling with soft waves of light. "That is enough, for now." The dream around her began to shift, colors melting into silver fog. But before she woke, the lantern keeper's voice echoed one last message. "Remember, Elara, shadows grow where light is forgotten. Find the forgotten light, and you will find the path." Awakening, Elara's eyes fluttered open. The morning sunlight warmed her cabin, but the strange, tingling feeling in her hands remained. She sat up and gasped. Floating above her palm was the tiny lantern from her dream. Real, awake, glowing softly, not a dream. Elara's heart pounded with a mix of wonder and fear. "So it begins," she whispered. Outside, the whispering wind rustled through the valley, gentle, patient, calling her forward. The dream had not been a vision of imagination. It had been a message, a beginning, a call. Moonfall Valley needed her, and the ancient lanterns were awakening. Soon, she would follow them deeper into magic, into the forgotten places the dream had shown her. But for now, she touched the tiny lantern gently. Its warmth answered her touch. "I'm with you," she murmured. And together, the girl and the tiny lantern stepped into the new day, ready for whatever mystery waited next. A cozy journey through a valley that sleeps with the stars. Morning sunlight softened the rough edges of Moonfall Valley. But Ilara's thoughts lingered on the night before. The dream, the lantern keeper, the first lantern, and the tiny companion that had followed her out of sleep and into waking reality. The small lantern hovered quietly near her shoulder now, drifting like a warm firefly with purpose. Its glow was stronger than it had been in the dream, though still gentle and soft. Ilara made tea, the steam rising from the clay cup in swirling curls. She set the cup on her wooden table, watching the lantern float in a slow circle over her head, almost as if exploring the familiar cabin with new curiosity. "You're really here," she whispered. The lantern pulsed, a tiny but clear response. She reached out a hand, stopping just short of touching it. The lantern drifted closer, brushing against her fingertips with a warmth that sent a calm shiver through her. "You and I, we have a journey ahead," she said quietly. The lantern dimmed and brightened, its way of nodding. Ilara sipped her tea, staring out the window. The valley looked calm, sparkling under the day's light. But she knew appearances could be deceiving. The ancient lanterns had shown her what was coming, shadows rising, the first lantern weakening, the valley whispering for help. She couldn't simply wait. So she made her decision. Tonight, she would follow the lantern deeper into the valley, into the parts she had never visited, the quiet corners where stars seemed to sleep on the ground. Evening in Moonfall Valley, as the sun slipped behind the mountains, the sky melted into soft lavender. Ilara stepped outside with her wool shawl wrapped around her shoulders. The tiny lantern followed, glowing brighter now, as if fueled by night itself. The valley began its nightly transformation. Crickets sang. The river hummed a low melody. And one by one, lanterns flickered awake, silver sparks rising from the grass like dew turning to light. Ilara inhaled deeply. The air felt cooler but comforting, like walking into the arms of an old friend. "Where first?" she whispered. The tiny lantern zipped forward, bobbing eagerly. It drifted toward the valley's central path, a trail Ilara knew, but had never followed beyond the old stone bridge. That part of the valley was said to be ancient, sacred, and full of magic that only revealed itself to those who listened. She stepped onto the path. Above her, stars emerged, soft, bright pinpricks smeared across the sky. The gentle lanterns drifting around the valley reflected their glow, making it hard to tell where sky ended and earth began. It truly felt like the valley itself slept with the stars. The stone bridge. The stone bridge was small, built long before anyone in the village was born. Moss covered its sides and carved markings, spirals, moons, strange runes decorated the edges. Tonight, however, something was different. The symbols glowed faintly, pulsing with silver light. Ilara ran her fingers along them. They were warm. "These weren't glowing before," she murmured. The tiny lantern flickered in excitement, circling the runes like a teacher pointing at important pages in a book. "You want me to notice something?" she asked. The lantern pulsed, yes. Ilara leaned closer, studying the glowing runes. When her fingers brushed one shaped like a crescent moon, the air shimmered. The runes rearranged themselves, sliding across the stone like ink flowing from an unseen pen. A message formed. "Follow where the stars sleep." Ilara swallowed. "The valley is guiding us," she whispered. With a soft gust of wind, the tiny lantern floated across the bridge, urging her onward. Starfall Meadow beyond the bridge lay Starfall Meadow, a quiet, open stretch known for its unusually bright night sky. But tonight it looked unlike anything Elara had ever seen. It was alive with thousands of star-like lanterns. Tiny orbs hovered low to the ground, glowing with deep hues, silver, pale blue, and soft gold. They drifted like slow-moving constellations, painting shapes in the air as they moved. Elara gasped softly. "It's beautiful." She stepped into the meadow, and the moment her foot touched the grass, a ripple of light spread outward. Lanterns responded, bobbing in greeting. The tiny lantern beside her glowed proudly, as if saying, "This is my home." Elara knelt, touching the soft grass. It sparkled with luminous dust, moonfire remnants, perhaps. "What is this place?" she whispered. The lantern pulsed and drifted toward a cluster of sleeping star lanterns resting atop a mound of moss. As Elara approached, she realized these lanterns weren't floating. They were anchored, rooted into the earth like glowing flowers. "These must be lantern roots," she murmured, "where lanterns are born." Just then the ground trembled faintly. A low hum rose from the soil. The lantern roots flickered wildly, too wildly. Elara stepped back, heart pounding. "What's happening?" The tiny lantern darted between the roots as if checking on them. It turned to her, glowing, frantic. "They're weak," Elara whispered, "just like the first lantern." She felt the truth in her bones. Something was draining the valley's magic, something deeper and darker than she'd imagined. The whispering breeze returned, urgent this time, wrapping around her like a cold ribbon. "Elara." She turned, searching for the source, but all she saw was the sky. The stars flickered, dimmed, brightened, dimmed again, as if struggling, as if fighting something unseen. The message became clear. The stars themselves were tiring, and where the stars tired, the lanterns weakened. The tiny lantern floated to her shoulder, vibrating softly with worry. Elara steadied herself with a deep breath. "All right," she whispered. "Show me what to do next." A trail of starlight. The lantern zipped toward the far end of the meadow, where the grass parted to reveal an unfamiliar trail, a path lined with glowing stones. Elara had never seen it before. The stones looked ancient, etched with runes older than the village. As she stepped onto the path, a warm shiver passed through her. The runes lit up beneath her feet, igniting the trail in a glowing silver line that stretched deeper into the valley. The valley was guiding her again. She walked slowly, feeling watched, but in a protective way, like 1,000 warm eyes ensuring she didn't trip. Lanterns drifted behind her, joining the tiny one like a small parade of glowing guardians. But the deeper she walked, the quieter the world became. The stars overhead dimmed softly. The lantern's glows thinned. The air grew colder. Something ahead was swallowing the valley's light. Elara shivered beneath her shawl. She wasn't prepared for darkness. She wasn't trained. She wasn't magical. "I'm just a girl," she whispered. The tiny lantern floated in front of her face, glowing with a steady, brave pulse. She smiled weakly. "Right, I'm not alone." Together, they stepped into the fading starlight. The cozy warmth of the early journey had slowly melted into a quiet, uncertain chill, but Elara did not turn back. She knew one thing now. To save the valley, she must follow the stars, even into darkness. And the valley itself, sleeping beneath the stars, trusted her to continue. Where every lantern holds a story waiting to soothe you. The deeper Leora and Bram wandered into Moonfall Valley, the more the lanterns seemed to hum, not loudly, but in a soft, velvety tone, as if each light were gently breathing. The glimmering path behind them felt like a trail of tiny suns, each one remembering the echoes of their footsteps. But ahead, the lanterns changed. They sat lower to the ground, nestled among moss pillows and curled fern fronds, as though someone had placed them there with the tender intention of being found. "These lanterns look older," Bram whispered, touching the edge of one. It flickered as if shy from the attention. Leora crouched beside another. "No, not older." She tilted her head. "They feel more personal." And she was right. The lanterns here weren't just glowing, they were alive in a different way, filled with warmth that pulsed deeper, richer. When Leora placed her fingertips on the glass, a soft swirl of golden mist curled upward, forming shapes like images trapped inside a dream. "Did you see that?" She gasped. Bram leaned closer, his breath held tight. The mist inside his lantern expanded, twirled, and suddenly the glass surface shimmered like water beneath moonlight. Then, faintly, an image appeared. A child holding a lantern, standing near a gentle river. The child's face was calm, and as Bram watched, the figure slowly set the lantern afloat, letting it drift peacefully downstream. Leora touched Bram's arm. "It's showing you a memory, but not yours." "Then whose?" As if it heard Bram, the lantern offered a whisper, a soft, dreamy hum that carried a faint story. It wasn't in words, not exactly. It was emotion. A memory of someone long ago who found comfort in releasing their worries into the drifting river of the valley. The lantern wasn't just a light. It was a keeper of stories. Then, the lantern Leora held responded as well. Her mist swirled, forming a slow-moving image of an elderly woman sitting beneath a willow tree. Lanterns hung from the branches around her, illuminating her peaceful smile as she whispered something to the wind. The lantern glowed brighter as if proud of the memory it held. "These lanterns," Leora murmured, "they hold the quiet moments of the people who once walked here. Their joys, their peace, maybe even their hopes." Bram glanced around. And each one has a story waiting for someone to see it. A soft breeze drifted through the valley, gently nudging the lanterns. Their glow brightened in waves, like a chain reaction of warmth stretching endlessly toward the valley's heart. Leora and Bram followed the pulsing path as if the lights themselves guided weary souls forward. Every few steps, a lantern would stir awake with a new story. A fisherman setting a lantern at the edge of a quiet lake. A mother holding her sleeping child beneath a glowing branch. A young traveler is tying a message of hope onto their lantern before releasing it into the night sky. None of these stories was loud or dramatic, but they were gentle, tender, and deeply human. "These are bedtime memories," Bram said softly. "Stories whispered just before sleep," Leora nodded. "Memories meant to soothe tired hearts." The valley grew even softer as they walked. The trees leaned closer, forming a natural shelter. The ground became a cushioned carpet of moss and tiny blue flowers that glowed faintly when stepped on. It was as though the entire valley wanted to cradle them, to ease every thread of exhaustion from their bodies. Then the lanterns began to float, not fast, not abruptly, but slowly, rising from their mossy nests like feathers catching a warm breeze. Dozens lifted around them, drifting gently upward until they hovered at chest height, forming a circular pattern around Leora and Bram. "Are we supposed to choose?" Bram asked quietly. Leora felt it too, an invitation, a warm acceptance. One lantern drifted closer to Bram, glowing a calm ocean blue. Another approached Leora, tinted with the soft blush of dawn. These two lanterns pulsed brighter than the rest and waited. "Maybe these are ours," Leora whispered. When Bram touched the blue lantern, the mist inside swirled faster, shapes forming with surprising clarity. He saw a small image, himself, but much younger, sitting on his grandmother's porch, wrapped in a knitted blanket, watching fireflies drift above the garden. His breath hitched. "I forgot this memory," Bram murmured. "But I remember how peaceful it felt, like the world was holding its breath to protect that moment." The lantern glowed brighter, as if pleased he remembered. Leora touched her lantern. Her mist swirled into an image of her mother reading bedtime stories, lantern-like fairy lights strung around her childhood room. She remembered the warmth of her mother's voice, the safety, the softness of falling asleep to a story. Her eyes burned with gentle emotion. "It's showing the moments that helped us rest, that soothed us. These lanterns," Bram whispered, "they're giving us back the pieces of ourselves we forgot to hold onto." A deeper hum resonated through the valley, almost like a lullaby sung by the lanterns themselves. One by one, the lights around them brightened, each contributing its own quiet story to the air. The valley filled with a tapestry of gentle memories, things lost, things cherished, things whispered at the edge of sleep. Then the lanterns slowly drifted back to their places among the moss, as if bowing in respect for the stories they shared. Only Leora's and Bram's lanterns remained floating. The two friends exchanged a soft look. "I think they want us to carry them," Bram said. Leora nodded. "Our hearts get tired too. Maybe these lanterns want to help guide us even when the valley is far away." The lanterns drifted toward them once more, stopping just above their hands. Warm, alive, comforting. Leora cupped hers gently, feeling its warmth seep into her fingertips. Bram did the same, and with both lanterns in hand, the path ahead brightened, illuminated not just by light, but by the gentle stories of countless souls who once found peace here. Leora inhaled the warm night air. "Let's keep going," she said softly. "There's more the valley wants to show us." Together, hearts lighter, breath softer, they followed the glowing trail deeper into the magic of Moonfall Valley, where new lanterns waited, whispering stories of comfort for anyone willing to listen. Warm glow, soft winds, and the valley that cradles your dreams. The deeper Leora and Bram walked with their personal lanterns in hand, the valley began to change again, slowly, softly, like a dream shifting its colors. The air grew warmer, wrapping around them like a shawl woven from moonlight. Even the breeze that drifted through Moonfall Valley felt, intentional, as though it moved only to soothe, to comfort, to guide. Bram inhaled and exhaled slowly. It feels like the valley knows we're tired. Leora nodded, not tired in the legs, but here. As she pressed a hand over her heart, the warm wind stirred her hair in response, almost like a gentle pat on the head from the valley itself. Their lanterns glowed brighter with each step they took, casting long golden reflections that danced over the mossy ground. The soft plants beneath their feet felt springy, warm, like stepping on a living blanket. The lanterns that lined the path swayed with the breeze, not randomly, but together, as though greeting the travelers with small, glowing bows. Ahead, the forest began to widen into a clearing. But this wasn't a space that felt empty. It felt like an embrace. The clearing was circular, framed by tall, moon-kissed trees whose leaves shimmered faintly as if dusted with silver frost. At the center of the space was a shallow pool, perfectly round, glowing with a soft, luminescent blue like melted stardust. Bram approached the pool first. The closer he got, the stronger he felt a deep sense of calm wash through him, like the first moment after waking from a long, needed sleep. I feel, he struggled to find the words, safe. Leora knelt beside him, letting her fingers graze the surface of the glowing water. Tiny ripples danced outward, and a soothing hum drifted upward like the comfort of a lullaby someone once sang long ago. This feels like a place made for rest, she whispered. Their lanterns responded, floating from their hands and hovering just above the water. The soft dawn pink of Leora's lantern and the deep ocean blue of Bram's reflected onto the pool's surface, creating swirling patterns that felt alive. Then the water began to move, not violently, not even quickly. It shifted in a slow, dreamy spiral, forming shapes, soft curls of mist that rose like warm breath into the night air. The first shape that formed was of a sleeping fox curled beneath a lantern-lit tree. The fox breathed slowly, deeply, its peaceful slumber almost contagious. Next appeared an image of a small cottage tucked into a hill, smoke drifting lazily from its chimney. Lanterns hung on the cottage's eaves, glowing steadily like silent guardians watching over someone sleeping inside. Another image formed, two children curled up under a blanket while lanterns floated gently above them like nighttime stars brought down from the sky just to ease them into sleep. Leora and Bram watched, entranced. This valley, Bram whispered. It's cradling not just dreams, but the dreamers too. The warm wind swept around them in a gentle circle, stirring the images but never breaking them. It felt like invisible arms wrapping around their shoulders. Leora felt something loosen in her chest, a knot she didn't know she'd been carrying. The kind that comes from holding too many thoughts, too many worries, too many things she never had time to soothe. She exhaled shakily. The wind grew even warmer and the lanterns pulsed as if whispering, "It's okay, let it go." Bram's voice broke through the comforting silence, low and thoughtful. Maybe this place isn't just magical. Maybe it's meant to help people rest when the world becomes too heavy. Leora nodded. A valley that understands tired hearts. The pool's glow brightened slightly, casting a gentle, calming shimmer across their faces. Then the surface of the water shifted again, this time showing something unexpected. A figure. A tall, graceful silhouette made entirely of moonlight appeared in the reflection. Not frightening, not startling. She radiated a soft, maternal warmth that soothed the air around her. Her voice flowed through the clearing like velvet wind. "You have traveled far," she said softly, "and the valley welcomes you with open arms." Leora and Bram didn't move. They didn't need to. The presence felt as natural as breathing. "Who are you?" Bram whispered. The figure smiled in the water's reflection, and her voice hummed gently. "I am the keeper of dreams, the guardian of Moonfall Valley. I watch over those who wander with weary hearts, guiding them toward rest and gentle peace." Leora clasped her hands together, feeling small and comforted at the same time. "These lanterns, the memories, everything here, it's all yours." "No," the keeper replied. "They belong to every soul who has ever sought refuge in this valley. I only protect what they leave behind." The lanterns floating above the pool glowed brighter in acknowledgement. The keeper continued, her voice barely louder than the wind. "Moonfall Valley is a cradle for dreams, a haven for hearts in need. Tonight it offers you its warmth, its light, and its comfort." Bram swallowed, feeling a tightness rise in his throat. "Why us?" "Because even the bravest hearts grow tired," she murmured. "And you have carried your weariness for far too long." The clearing grew warmer, softer, gentler, as if the valley itself leaned closer to embrace them. "Rest here," the keeper whispered. "Let the winds soothe you. Let the warmth wrap around you. Let your lanterns guide your breath back to ease." Slowly, the silhouette faded into the glowing water, leaving only the gentle hum of the valley behind. Leora felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from release. Her lantern drifted to her shoulder like a comforting hand. Bram's lantern floated to his chest, its warmth sinking into him like a blanket. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply breathed in the softness around them. Then Bram lay back on the moss, hands behind his head. "Just for a moment," he whispered. Leora smiled tiredly and lay beside him. The moss was warm. The wind was soft. Their lanterns hovered above them like dream guardians. And the valley held them gently, as if cradling two weary dreamers who had finally found a place where they could simply be. Slowly, peacefully, their eyes grew heavy, not from exhaustion, but from comfort. Moonfall Valley, with its warm glow and soft winds, wrapped them in a dreamy embrace, watching over them as they drifted toward a sleep deeper and calmer than any they had known in years. And somewhere above, unseen, the keeper of dreams smiled. A nighttime tale of kind spirits and gentle magic. Leora wasn't sure when she fell asleep, nor when her dreams began to blend seamlessly with the warm breath of Moonfall Valley. It was a rest so deep and soft that she couldn't tell where her thoughts ended, and the valley's gentle magic began. What she did know was that, at some calm point in the night, she felt watched over, not by anything frightening, but by something tender and ancient, like an old friend quietly checking in. When she finally stirred, she didn't open her eyes right away. The moss beneath her felt like a velvet cushion warmed by starlight. A soft hum, familiar now, like the heartbeat of the valley, wrapped around her like a blanket. She heard Bram's slow, rhythmic breathing beside her. They hadn't just slept. They had been held. When she opened her eyes, she saw them, soft, glowing figures drifting between the trees. Spirits, not ghostly, not eerie, gentle. Their bodies were shaped like floating ribbons of moonlit mist, glowing faintly in soft shades of pearl, amber, and silver. Tiny lantern-like lights hovered around them like companions. For a moment, Leora simply stared, wondering if she was still dreaming. Bram stirred beside her, blinking awake. His eyes widened as the spirits twirled gracefully in the air above the glowing pool. "What are they?" he whispered. A warm breeze brushed against their cheeks, and one of the spirits drifted closer, moving slowly, respectfully, like a deer approaching someone it trusts. Up close, it looked even softer. Swirls of glowing mist forming the suggestion of a face with eyes that resembled tiny lanterns. Leora sat up slowly, not wanting to startle it. "Hello," she said gently, unsure if the spirit could understand her. The spirit's glow brightened, and it tilted its head in a gesture that felt unmistakably like a greeting. A soft, chiming sound, like tiny bells swaying in the wind, filled the clearing. Bram's breath hitched. "They're not scary at all, they're beautiful." Before Leora could answer, another spirit floated down, then another, and another. Soon a dozen of them drifted around the clearing, each carrying a soft, lantern-like light that glowed in unique colors. The lights flickered not randomly, but rhythmically, like the valley itself was speaking through them. One spirit extended a misty hand toward Bram. He froze, then slowly reached out. Before he could touch it fully, a shimmer passed between them, warm, tender, like being gently brushed by a memory. Bram inhaled sharply. "I saw something." Leora leaned forward. "What did you see?" He swallowed. "My grandmother's porch, the same one the lantern showed me before, but this time she was sitting beside me, smiling." The spirit pulsed softly as though affirming the memory it shared. Leora felt a gentle ache inside her chest, an ache that didn't hurt but felt full asterisk. A spirit glided toward her next. Its lantern glowed in soft rose-gold hues, warming her face. When the spirit brushed against her hand, she too felt something stir. A memory of her mother humming a bedtime lullaby. A warm light filled her childhood room, the soft flutter of curtains as she drifted to sleep. Leora covered her mouth, tears gathering in her eyes. "It's showing us kindness we forgot to hold on to." The spirits circled around them in a slow, synchronized dance, their lanterns flickering like fireflies performing a lullaby. Slowly, the clearing began to fill with tiny glowing motes, floating sparks of light that drifted upward like gentle souls returning to the sky. It wasn't just a visual spectacle. It was soothing. It was healing. Bram lay back again, watching the spirits with childlike wonder. "Do you think they're memories too?" Leora shook her head softly. "No, I think they're the caretakers of those memories." As if in response, one spirit drifted closer, its lantern glowing warmly. It passed around Leora in a slow circle, and the wind stirred her hair in a comforting swirl. Another spirit hovered near Bram, its lantern radiating a calm, deep blue glow that made him exhale tension he didn't know he still carried. Then, from deeper within the forest, the soft hum of the valley grew stronger. The keeper of dreams did not appear this time, but her presence felt woven through the air, like a guardian watching from the trees. A group of spirits began to form a line, their lanterns glowing in patterns as if inviting Leora and Bram to follow. "I think," Leora whispered, "they want us to come with them." Bram stood slowly, stretching his arms. "Where do you think they're taking us?" Leora smiled softly. "Somewhere gentle. Everything here is gentle." With their lanterns floating beside them like glowing companions, Leora and Bram followed the spirits deeper into the valley. The warm winds brushed past their skin, carrying the sweet scent of blooming night flowers. As they walked, the trees widened to form a pathway illuminated by lanterns perched on twisting branches. The spirits moved with slow, graceful motions, never rushing, never startling, because Moonfall Valley was a place that understood tired hearts and weary minds. The path opened into a wide meadow filled with tiny glowing blossoms. When the wind moved, the flowers lit up in waves, like stars shimmering across the ground instead of the sky. Bram gasped. "It's like walking on the Milky Way." Leora's voice was a quiet whisper. "This place is a dream that decided to stay awake." The spirits spread out, drifting over the meadow like guardians of the night. Some carried their lanterns low, illuminating the flowers beneath them. Others rose into the air, joining the actual stars in a soft, celestial dance. Then one spirit floated forward, brighter than the others, and formed a shape, more distinct, more human-like. It bowed gently. A voice, soft and airy, echoed through the meadow. "We guide the memories of the weary. We guard the dreams of the lost. And we soothe those who walk with heavy hearts." Leora and Bram exchanged stunned glances. "You protect this valley?" Bram asked. The spirit's lantern flickered warmly. "Yes, and tonight we protect you." The meadow's glow intensified, wrapping the travelers in gentle warmth. The spirits formed a protective circle around them, their lanterns floating in soft, dreamlike patterns. The voice continued. "Your journey is not over, but rest is part of every path. Tonight, let the valley carry your worries. Let us hold your dreams." Leora felt herself sink into the words as if they were a lullaby. Bram closed his eyes, breathing deeply. The spirits drifted closer. Their lanterns glowed brighter, and soon the entire meadow shimmered, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with pure, gentle magic. A magic meant to ease, to comfort, to cradle wandering souls. Moonfall Valley didn't just glow, it cared. And Leora and Bram felt it in every breath, every breeze, every flicker of lantern light. Tonight was not just another night. It was a nighttime tale of kind spirits and gentle magic. A story whispered only to those who needed it most. Let the lanterns lead you to restful wonder. For a long moment, Leora and Bram stood in the center of the glowing meadow, surrounded by the kind spirits and their flickering lanterns. The warm breeze that drifted through Moonfall Valley seemed to hum a soft lullaby, one that wrapped around them like a gentle promise of peace. The spirits, still circling gracefully, began guiding their lanterns into a flowing formation. The lights floated upward, forming a twisting ribbon of warm gold and soft blue across the night sky. It wasn't chaotic. Every lantern moved with intention, as though performing an ancient ritual, one meant to lead weary travelers deeper into restful wonder. Bram raised his face toward the glowing ribbon. It's like they're creating a path in the sky. Leora nodded, her voice hushed with awe. A lantern road made just for dreamers. As if responding, the spirits drifted closer. Their lanterns pulsed in gentle acknowledgement, sending waves of warm light rippling through the meadow. The soft glow reflected on Leora's cheeks and danced over Bram's eyes. Then slowly the ribbon of lanterns began to glide forward, stretching toward a narrow path at the edge of the meadow. The message was clear. Follow, gently, slowly, without worry. Leora breathed deeply, feeling her lantern, still floating faithfully beside her, warm her shoulder like a comforting hand. Bram's lantern hovered close to his chest, glowing with a calming rhythm that matched his heartbeat. They took their first step forward. As they walked, the ribbon of lanterns drifted ahead of them, illuminating their path. The spirits floated behind and beside them, a silent escort of soft magic, as though the valley refused to let them walk alone. The path led them between tall, moonlit trees whose branches arched overhead like a protective canopy. Tiny glimmering specks, almost like drifting dust from fallen stars, floated lazily around them. Each breath felt lighter than the last. Each step is softer. "This valley doesn't just help us rest," Bram whispered. "It reshapes the way we breathe." Leora smiled faintly. "It's teaching us how to feel peaceful again." The deeper they went, the more the forest around them began to hum. Not a sound made by animals, not the rustle of leaves. No, this hum felt like a chorus of lanterns singing without making a single real note. It was a vibration, warmth, meaning, a soothing presence that guided them forward with gentle certainty. The ribbon of lanterns dipped low, leading them into a wider part of the forest. Here, the trees were wider apart, and the air shimmered as though woven with threads of silver. Ahead stood a wooden bridge, old, moss-covered, yet glowing faintly under the lantern light. The bridge's planks were tied with vines that held tiny blossoms, and the railing was carved with swirling patterns that resembled rising moonlight. Bram stepped onto it first, feeling a soft warmth rise through his soles. Even the bridge feels alive. "It's like everything here wants to help," Leora murmured, brushing her hand along the railing. The wood hummed gently beneath her fingers. The spirits floated behind them, their lanterns casting crescent-shaped patterns across the bridge. When they reached the center of it, the air grew warmer, thicker with comfort. A soft glow rose from the water below, revealing that the stream passing under the bridge was not an ordinary one. Its waters glowed with light, not a reflection, not moonlight, actual living light. The stream shimmered in a gentle blend of silvers and golds, swirling slowly as though carrying dreams downstream. Small glows like floating lantern fragments drifted within the water, bobbing along softly. Bram leaned over the railing, breath catching. Dreams floating in the water. Leora's heart fluttered. Restful dreams, nighttime wishes. As they watched, one glowing fragment drifted near the surface. It pulsed, a gentle heartbeat of light, and a small image formed inside. A child releasing a tiny lantern onto a stream, smiling as it drifted away. Leora placed a hand on the railing for balance, overwhelmed by the tenderness of it all. This valley, it remembers everything gentle. The ribbon of lanterns above them flashed softly once, urging them forward again. When they reached the end of the bridge, the path curved gently into an open glen. The air grew cooler here, but in a comforting way, like the soft chill when slipping into freshly washed sheets. At the center of the glen stood a massive lantern. Unlike the countless small lanterns lining the valley, this one was monumental, taller than Leora, wider than Bram's outstretched arms. It stood upon a stone pedestal covered in moss and blooming vines, glowing with a steady, rhythmic pulse that matched the valley's heartbeat. Its light wasn't bright. It wasn't overwhelming. Instead, it radiated the softest golden glow Leora had ever seen, like a candle flame wrapped in silk. The spirits gathered around it, drifting in a slow circle as though performing a ritual. The lantern responded by brightening slightly, as if waking up to greet Leora and Bram. Bram stepped closer, breath shallow. This feels sacred. Leora nodded, her voice barely audible, like the heart of the valley. A spirit drifted forward, its lantern glowing brighter than before. It paused before Leora and Bram, then raised its lantern toward the giant one. The two lights pulsed in perfect harmony. Slowly, the giant lantern opened, not with hinges, not mechanically. It blossomed like a flower made from light. Inside the lantern, swirling softly, was a galaxy of tiny glowing motes. Each moved slowly, drifting like gentle fireflies caught inside a dream. The glow spread across the glen, warming the air until it felt like stepping into a dream woven of soft blankets and distant lullabies. Leora felt her heart loosen, felt her thoughts slow. "This is beautiful." Bram nodded, voice breaking. "I feel like I could sleep just standing here." Well, one of the spirits drifted close, its voice soft like morning fog. "Within this lantern," it whispered, "are the dreams carried through Moonfall Valley. They come from every lantern, every wanderer, every moment of peace the valley protects." The spirit drifted back, giving Leora and Bram space. Another chimed in, its voice like soft wind through chimes. "The lanterns have guided you. Now let them ease the burden you still hold." The giant lantern's glow deepened, shimmering like molten stars. Leora clasped her hands to her chest. She didn't have to speak her worries. The valley already knew. Bram stepped forward, placing his hand on the lantern's warm surface. "What do we do?" The lantern pulsed gently. "Let go," the spirits whispered in unison. "Not forget, not erase, not abandon, just let go." Leora stepped forward, placing her hand beside Bram's. The lantern's warmth flowed through her fingers, up her arm, into her heart. She felt the heaviness she'd carried, quiet fears, tiny doubts, old sadness, soften. The lantern shimmered brighter. And then light poured out, soft and warm, wrapping around them like a blanket being tucked lovingly around their shoulders. Their worries drifted upward, forming tiny glowing motes that rose gently into the lantern's inner light, becoming part of its peaceful glow. The valley didn't take their pain. It simply held it, softened it, soothed it. When the giant lantern closed again, the glen fell quiet. Peace settled, true peace. Bram exhaled shakily. I didn't know how heavy I'd been feeling until now. Leora wiped a tear from her cheek, not from sadness but relief. The lantern didn't take anything away, it just made things lighter. The spirits drifted closer, their lanterns glowing warmly. The path continues, one whispered. The valley has more wonders to show, murmured another. And more peace to offer, said a third. The ribbon of lanterns rose again, forming a glowing arch over the path that led deeper into Moonfall Valley, toward gentler mysteries, softer winds, and deeper dreams. And hand in hand, with their lanterns floating faithfully beside them, Leora and Bram followed, toward restful wonder, toward the next chapter of magic, toward the heart of a valley that loved every tired soul who wandered into its moonlit embrace. Let the lanterns lead you to restful wonder. The sky above Moonfall Valley had shifted into a deeper shade of night, a velvet blue sprinkled with 1,000 shimmering stars, as if the heavens themselves were leaning closer to listen. The lanterns, glowing softly along the winding paths, had begun to hum with a gentle energy, almost musical, almost alive. And as Leora and Ilian continued their journey, a peaceful warmth unfurled around them, like a blanket stitched from stardust and memory. The valley was quieter now. Not empty, no, Moonfall Valley was never truly silent, but quieter in a sacred way. The whispers of the wind became more tender. The fluttering of dream moths slowed into lazy drifting snowflakes of blue light, and even the soft creak of tall moon birch trees seemed to sway in a rhythm meant to lull weary travelers into comfort. Leora breathed in the night. It smelled faintly of lavender pine and something she could only describe as dream. Ilian walked a few steps ahead, lantern in hand, its flame brightening with every heartbeat. This part of the valley, he said softly without turning around, is not meant to be hurried. Let your steps match the rhythm of your breath. Let your breath match the calm of the lanterns. Leora followed his advice. In, out, slow, smooth, unforced. And with each breath, something remarkable happened. The ground beneath her feet began to glow. Soft trails of pale gold shimmered with every step she took, lighting the way with a warm, loving presence. The path responded not just to her movement, but to her very state of mind. The calmer she became, the brighter the path glowed. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Ilian finally looked back at her and smiled, a smile filled with the kindness of someone who had guided countless wanderers before her. Moonfall Valley recognizes peace. It reflects what you carry inside. But I'm not peaceful, she said, almost embarrassed. Not completely. There are still worries, doubts, questions. That's exactly why you're here, Ilian replied gently. The lanterns don't demand perfection, they only ask for presence. They walked on, side by side, entering a clearing shaped like a crescent moon. Small lanterns floated above a glass-like pond, their light stretching across the water like delicate threads of hope. Each lantern flickered in a different shade, soft blues, pale purples, gentle peaches, muted golds, all blending into a symphony of calm. Leora moved closer to the water and knelt down. The pond was perfectly still, reflecting both her face and the floating lanterns above her. But when she leaned a little closer, the reflection changed. not into something frightening, but something wondrous. Instead of her reflection, she saw memories. A younger version of herself running through a sunlit garden. Her mother brushing her hair on a warm afternoon. Her father lifting her onto his shoulders to watch fireworks. The first time she cried because life felt heavier than she knew how to carry. The first time she laughed after thinking she might never laugh again. The memories moved slowly, lovingly, like pages from a storybook turning in a gentle breeze. Leora gasped. How is this happening? The pond shows you the moments that shaped your heart, Ilian said softly. Both the ones that made you strong and the ones that made you tired. As she watched for a long moment, a tear slipped down her cheek, but this wasn't the kind of tear that hurt. It felt warm, relieving, like something inside her had finally released. Ilian touched the water with the tip of his lantern. The pond rippled, and the reflections faded into tiny golden lights, drifting upward like fireflies until they dissolved into the night sky. "You've carried your memories with such weight," he whispered. "Here we let them rest." Leora felt her chest loosen. For the first time, she realized she had been holding her breath for years. A soft rustling came from the edge of the clearing, and Leora turned to see a group of small, glowing creatures approaching. They looked like miniature deer, except made entirely of light, their antlers shaped like branching lantern flames. Their steps were silent, their eyes full of quiet wisdom. "These are Lumavels," Ilian said. "They appear only when a traveler's heart becomes light enough to welcome gentle wonder." One of the Lumavels approached Leora and bowed its head. She reached out instinctively, placing her hand between its glowing antlers. Instead of fur, she felt warmth, like touching sunlight filtered through morning fog. With a single graceful movement, the Lumavel turned its head toward a narrow path lined with tiny lantern stones. Their soft golden glow pulsed in a steady, soothing rhythm, like the beating of a calm, well-rested heart. "They want us to follow," Ilian said. Together, Leora, Ilian, and the Lumavels walked down the glowing path. The world around them softened even further, every sound becoming gentler, every light more comforting. It felt like walking through the inside of a lullaby. As they walked, Leora noticed that her footsteps were no longer heavy. Her shoulders felt lighter, her breath easier. It felt as though her worries were dissolving into the lantern-lit air, drifting away like leaves carried by a warm river current. The path eventually opened into a meadow blanketed in silvery grass, glowing under the moonlight. Lanterns hung from invisible threads in the air, drifting slowly like suspended stars. At the center of the meadow stood an ancient lantern pole carved from moonstone. Its lantern was unlike any she had seen. Not one flame, but many, swirling in harmony like a galaxy of soft lights. Ilian turned to her. "This is the lantern of restful wonder. When you step closer, it will show you the wonder your heart forgot, the wonder you deserve." Leora approached it slowly. The lantern's swirling lights brightened, responding to her presence. As she reached out, the lights expanded, wrapping her in a warm, shimmering cocoon. And then she felt it. The gentle, overwhelming, breathtaking feeling of wonder. Not excitement, not adrenaline, but a deep, peaceful enchantment, the kind that made the world feel kind, safe, and full of quiet magic. She saw soft visions, dreamlike glimpses of future joys, new friendships, restful nights, mornings filled with calm. She saw herself smiling with ease she thought she had lost. She saw her heart as a lantern, glowing steadily, guiding her forward. The lights faded gently as the lantern dimmed back to normal, releasing her into the calm meadow. She turned to Ilian, eyes shining. "Ilian, I feel peaceful, truly peaceful." He smiled, bowing his head slightly. "The lanterns lead all who seek wonder, and you followed with courage." Leora looked around the meadow at the floating lanterns, the silver grass, the patient lumavels, and most of all at the path bathed in soft, loving glow. "Where do we go now?" she asked quietly. Ilian raised his lantern. "There is one more place to visit before your journey ends. The final lantern awaits." Leora nodded, feeling ready. Wrapped in comfort, guided by moonlit magic, she stepped forward, and the lanterns lit the way. A peaceful wander through moon falls dream-kissed trails. The final stretch of the journey began with a hush, not the silence of emptiness, but the kind of stillness that comes just before a beautiful truth is revealed. The lanterns along the edge of the meadow flickered in soft blues and warm golds, forming a gentle archway that beckoned Leora and Ilian forward. Even the lumavels bowed their glowing heads, as if honoring a sacred passage. Leora took a steady breath. She felt different now, lighter, calmer, anchored in a way she hadn't been for years. It was as if each step she had taken through Moonfall Valley had gently untangled the knots that life had tied inside her. The peaceful glow around her felt familiar now, safe, loving. Ilian walked beside her, though even his steps seemed softer here, as if the path itself welcomed him home. "This part of the valley is known as the Dream-Kissed Trails," he said quietly. "It is where the journey turns inward and upward." "Upward?" Leora tilted her head curiously. He smiled, that gentle, earth-deep smile she had come to trust. "You'll see. Upward doesn't always mean toward the sky." The path curved forward like a slow spiral, lined with tall reeds that glimmered faintly with silver pollen. Whenever Leora brushed past them, tiny sparkles drifted upward like sleepy fireflies, humming with a lullaby-like resonance. She realized the entire trail had a song of its own, soft, rhythmic, a melody woven from heartbeats and lantern light. As they walked, the air grew warmer, thicker, with a soothing sweetness like honey warmed by the sun. It wrapped around Leora's shoulders, whispering comfort, reminding her of long-ago evenings spent wrapped in blankets, listening to stories by lantern glow. After a few minutes, she noticed something unusual. The lanterns ahead weren't hanging from poles or tree branches. They weren't floating either. They were growing. Lantern blooms, delicate flowers shaped like tiny lanterns, sprouted from the ground, glowing gently in hues of peach, lavender, and warm cream. They swayed slightly as if greeting her. Leora knelt by one, touching a petal with the tip of her finger. It felt incredibly soft, almost velvety, and radiated a comforting warmth. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "These blooms only appear for travelers who have softened enough to see them," Ilian said. "They show the moments when you've allowed yourself to rest." Leora blinked slowly. Rest. A word she had often avoided, always too busy, too burdened, too tired to slow down long enough to truly understand it. Yet here, the valley insisted on it. A gentle breeze passed over the trail, and the lantern blooms glowed brighter, illuminating the path ahead. It curved again, rising slightly until the ground beneath them began to hum with a subtle vibration. "Ilian," she said softly. "The ground, it feels alive." "It is." He tapped the soil lightly with the base of his lantern. "Moonfall Valley breathes with you. It is a place that feels every step, every hope, every exhaustion, and it guides you toward the place where your journey truly ends and begins." As they walked further, the trail's glow shifted from warm gold to deep blue, the color of a calm night sky. The air shimmered faintly, like they were walking through a dream made of memory and wishful thinking. Then, suddenly, they reached it. A clearing unlike any Leora had seen before. The trees circled around them in tall, sweeping arches, their leaves glowing like soft moon flakes. High above, strands of starlight drifted slowly through the branches like lazy rivers of light. The ground was blanketed in a gentle mist that sparkled as if kissed by thousands of tiny moons. At the center of the clearing stood a single lantern, the final lantern. It floated without chains or support, spinning slowly in place as though cradled by invisible hands. Its flame was unlike any she had witnessed in Moonfall Valley. Not a single color, but a weaving tapestry of soft pastels and silver light, moving like calm water guided by gentle winds. Leora felt her breath catch. She didn't know why, but looking at that lantern felt like looking at something she had been searching for her entire life. Ilian turned to her. His face glowed with warmth and pride. "This lantern," he said, "is the lantern of returning light. It reveals not where you have been, but who you truly are beneath all your weariness." Leora swallowed, her throat warm and tight. "And what do I do?" "You step toward it," he whispered, "and you listen." She nodded slowly. Every step toward the lantern made her heart beat softer, steadier. When she finally stood only a breath away from it, the lantern brightened, recognizing her presence. Then it began to glow outward, bathing her in a gentle, luminous warmth. The world fell quiet. And then, visions began to bloom around her like soft petals. She saw herself walking through life carrying burdens far too heavy, yet still moving forward, still giving, still trying. She saw the moments she thought she had failed, but instead the lantern revealed the strength she had shown simply by continuing. She saw her laughter, her quiet hopes, her hidden dreams, dreams she had tucked away under the weight of responsibility. She saw the tenderness she gave others, even when she had none left for herself. She saw her heart, not tired, not broken, but glowing delicately and beautifully like a lantern in the dark. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of recognition. The lantern brightened further, its light expanding until it wrapped her completely, like soft arms embracing her with absolute acceptance. Leora closed her eyes and let the light seep into every corner of herself, her doubts, her fears, her forgotten joys. She felt whole. She felt understood. She felt rested. When the light dimmed back to its calm glow, the clearing reappeared. Ilian stood where he had been, watching her with gentle eyes. "Leora," he said softly. You have walked the dream-kissed trails with honesty and courage. Now the valley has returned your light to you. She approached him slowly, feeling new yet completely herself. So, is this the end? She asked. He shook his head, smiling. This is the beginning. The valley's magic goes with you now. Every peaceful breath you take, every gentle step, every moment you choose rest over worry, that will be the lantern's light guiding you forward. Leora looked around the clearing one last time. The starlight, the glowing leaves, the quiet mist, the lantern still flickering in soft harmony. She felt gratitude swell inside her, warm and full. Thank you, Ilian, she whispered. You were the one who walked the path, he replied. The lanterns only showed the way. Slowly, the glow around the clearing began to brighten into a soft white light, signaling the journey's end. Leora felt herself being lifted gently, as if the valley itself was carrying her upward, not into the sky, but toward awakening. The last thing she saw was the final lantern, pulsing softly like a heartbeat, a promise, a reminder, a light that would stay with her always. As the world around her faded into a warm, restful haze, a voice whispered, "May the lanterns guide your dreams." And your heart always finds its way home. And with that, Leora drifted peacefully into the quietest, gentlest rest she had ever known. You've been wonderful to spend this time here. Thank you for letting these words be part of your calm. Remember, you are worthy of peace and rest. And I truly hope this story has brought you a sense of calm and comfort. If you feel relaxed or soothed by this experience, please consider subscribing so we can share many more moments like this together. Until next time, take gentle breaths, feel safe, and may peace always find you.